Hello and welcome back to Tommy's Top Shelf Comics. I'm Tommy, joined by Murphy.
Hello.
We're back with this week's top 5 comics for the week of October 11th, 2023. They were next week's comics, but now it's next week, which is this week. So they're this week's comics. We got some exciting news. New York Comic Con, for those that didn't know, is next week. Murphy's going, representing the channel.
Well, this weekend. This
weekend, yeah.
This week. I got 3 days of work, and then I'm in New York City.
Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting. So stick around after the top 5 while we try and figure out Murphy's dilemma of what comics to bring to get signed, because there's a lot of really cool people that
Too many names.
Too many
people.
But first at number 5, Amazing Spider-Man. Number 35.
So the synopsis for this one is pretty straightforward. This sets up the next 24 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Do not miss this. I do love when they put that as the synopsis. They're just like, all right, come on, guys.
Don't miss it.
You know, like
this is the setup. Jump on.
Yeah, and this one, I mean, I'm going to call it again. Hopefully, at the end of this arc that ends with this issue, we get our good old Green Goblin back. But I don't know. It's been...
So that's 24 issues. So that's
it's been like a
months,
year.
So that's a year.
It's been
that's
over
another
a
year. That's another year.
It's been so long since we've had the Green Goblin, and they keep playing with me. Hashtag not my Norman Osborn. You know. But so, we're getting close.
It'll line up to New York Comic Con again next year.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where this goes. They do have a big event coming too after this one, Gang War. So it's going to combine a bunch of the street level heroes.
Cool.
And Zeb Wells is kind of the architect for the whole event.
Cool.
So that's what I think they mean by the next 24 issues is also the Gang War event.
I much prefer Spider-Man with like the street level fighter story arcs compared to like Avengers world ending.
Yeah, I mean, I like that he's an Avenger.
Yeah, I do too. But I just prefer. I prefer.
It's
I don't know, like Spider-Man being at the top of the power level of the group compared to the like, you know what I mean?
Middle.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in reality, they do say that he would be like number 4 on the strength chart.
Sure, but then you also
he doesn't ever let go fully.
Right, and you also have Hulk, and you have Thor, and you have these monster heavy hitters.
And that's why, I think back to Superior Spider-Man when Doc Ock had Peter's body, and they had Hulk and Thor try to hold him, and they were like, oh, he's kind of strong, you know?
Well, hold on to that thought for another issue that we're going to talk about, because first we're going to talk about our number 4, A Haunted Girl. Number 1.
Image number 1.
Miniseries premiere. Cleo, an adopted 16-year-old Japanese American whose depression drove her to near suicide, is trying unsuccessfully to reintegrate back into her old life. But her struggles are just beginning as she encounters an increasingly terrifying succession of ghosts. Is she losing her grip on reality? Or is the explanation much worse?
I did try to make my image number 1 a little more ghostly, you know.
For spooky season.
It's spooky season. I like these types of stories though, you know, where people are dealing with these ghosts, but they don't know if, you know, it's real or if they're actually crazy from their trauma.
Right.
Like, because obviously she's definitely been through something.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's only going to be 4 issues, so it's a mini-series. So, yeah. I think I'll probably pick it up as a trade. Read it as a trade.
Yeah. A 4-issue trade is like the best.
Yeah. I mean, it's 40 pages, so it's an extra large issue. So,
yeah.
And I think they're all 40 pages.
Is each one 40?
So it'll be a nice size trade.
Would they do that in 2 trades?
No.
No?
One. Miniseries, they wouldn't. It may just be an overpriced. I don't know. 40. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like two.
Because what, a trade's
It's almost
generally
like
like
8 issues.
120 some,
140 some.
right?
100.
140
Yeah.
some.
It's 144
Yeah,
or
so
something like that.
it'd probably just be like a hardback or something.
Yeah. But moving on to our number 3 this week, we got another image number 1. Knights.
Number 1. It's 2003. Supernatural creatures casually exist amongst humans, and America is made up of 31 states. Since Akonma has lost his parents, moved in with his secret mercenary cousin, his video game making roommate, and befriends the greatest vampire who's ever lived. And that's just the first 20 pages. Welcome to Florida. Youth is wasted on the young. Florida's a horror story in its own right.
Right. It's like, oh, where does this horror story take place? Florida. Oh, that's terrifying.
Oh, it's terrifying. I feel like if I was a vampire, though, I'd avoid Florida. I feel like there's more sunlight, I guess there's a nightlife, though. You go to Miami, be a vampire.
Sure. I guess, but then you're still in Florida.
I'm sure vampires don't care about Florida. They're like, meth, whatever. It's fine.
All right. Certainly an interesting one to pick up for spooky season. But moving on to our number 2 this week, we got Batman, City of Madness number 1. Visionary creator Christian Ward unleashes a cosmic horror epic featuring the Court of Owls. Buried deep beneath Gotham City, there exists another Gotham. This Gotham below is a living nightmare, populated by twisted mirrors of our Gotham's denizens, fueled by the fear and hatred flowing down from above for decades. The doorway between the cities has been sealed and heavily guarded by the Court of Owls. Now the doors swing wide, and the twisted version of the Dark Knight has escaped to trap and train a Robin of his own. Batman must form an uneasy alliance with the Court of Owls, with the court and its deadly allies to stop him, and to hold back the wave of twisted supervillains, nightmarish versions of his own nemesis, each one worse than the last, that's spilling into the streets. Visionary writer-artist Christian Ward unleashes his cosmic horror take on Batman's world in a tribute to disturbing Dark Knight classics like Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Gothic. You'll never look at Batman's villains the same way again. You simply won't have the stomach for it.
Spooky season.
Spooky season is right. Working with the Court of Owls.
Yeah, right. We were just talking about how the Court of Owls have exploded in recent, they were just in Batman Beyond too. I like that we're getting more stories that involve them outside of the Snyder run.
Yeah. I got them on my elbow.
Yeah. And they've blown up though recently. They were in that Gotham Knights game. They're becoming a mainstay rogue. Sort of, I guess.
Sure.
Would they be a rogue? They'd be their own rogues gallery.
They are part of the rogues gallery.
Yeah. But also, I like that Batman, they're giving a lot of these people with Black Label, a lot of these artists are getting the chance to tell a Batman story.
Yeah.
Now, as much as I love the main line and Detective Comics and everything like that, it's I'm down for more Batman stories outside of the main stuff.
Yeah, and Black Label kind of lets us get to see Batman horror on a side that we haven't before. It just, because of the age rating, they can be a little more, they can be darker. And it's fascinating to see what writers and artists, and in this case, the same person, is doing to tell stories that way, which is super cool.
Dude, imagine Batman trapping his Robin.
I know.
That just starts things off on a real negative note.
Like I said, dark. But moving on to number 1, we alluded it to earlier. Superior Spider-Man returns. Number 1.
Oh, I'm so excited.
He's back.
Superior Spider-Man web slings again. The Spider team that redefined the Amazing Spider-Man returns to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the most monumental and shocking Spidey story in a generation. Dan Slott, Ryan Stegman, Mark Bagley, Giuseppe Camuncolo, Humberto Ramos, Peter Parker, Doc Ock together again for a Spider-Man story superior to all others. Superior Spider-Man's back. I'm so pumped for this. They're saying that this one shot directly ties into the new ongoing that's coming up, but also they say that this story is going to also impact Spider-Man in the present.
Okay.
So who knows what they're going to do? Whether it's telling it's an ongoing, but it could be just taking place 10 years ago, basically.
This is an ongoing?
So this is the one shot that leads into the ongoing.
Right.
So Dan Slott's Return to Spider-Man is this, and then...
So there's 2 number ones.
Yeah, so he's going to do this, the one shot, and then Superior Spider-Man and Spider-Boy will be starting next month.
Gotcha.
But, dude, I'm so
because we needed more Spider books.
I know, but it's Dan Slott. When he comes home, the prodigal son has returned.
Sure,
but just Superior Spider-Man in general to me was just such a, like the description says, it was shocking. It was a huge event, and to me, that's honestly the book that made me start collecting again.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
That's when I went away from, I was only buying digital comics, and then this came out, and it's so exciting that they're finding a way to still bring him back.
Yeah. And it's always fun to see a Stegman cover too.
Always a good Stegman cover. There are some good, I like the Ramos variant. I just wonder, I'm very confused still, because like I said, they've said that this one shot ties into the ongoing, but the ongoing is a story that affects the flagship.
So maybe this is from the past and you get information that is relevant now.
That's what I'm feeling like is going to happen. Because in the normal Spider-Man issues, Doc Ock is trying to get information that he had when he was Peter Parker. So it's going to tie in somehow. I just don't know how yet, but I'm super pumped that it's coming back.
Yeah, very excited.
And I'll have this in time
to bring to New York.
Comic-Con.
You gonna bring this?
Know.
So you're gonna bring this to get signed?
I have. This is kind of one of those ones I might just get something at the booth.
Okay.
So that's kind of the issue I'm having is with my books that I chose to take with me. I have 6 books to get signed by Dan Slott, and there's probably 6 more that I could take. So it's I don't want to bring something brand new when the queue of books
has
already built up. So with
fair.
something like this, I'm sure that at Dan Slott's booth, there's going to be something to do with this new issue. If not, a variant cover of this issue.
True. Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
fair.
That's kind
fair.
of...
So then you would rather get that signed.
Yeah, if I'm going to bring books, I want to bring books that I've wanted to get signed for a while.
That makes more sense.
And then if they have something else at their booth, get that as well.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then this would be what they would have, probably.
Because otherwise, I'm taking 50 books to Comic-Con.
Right. You're not bringing a short box. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just too much. I saw people last year who did that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They carried around the short box.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Just don't be that person. Don't be that person.
Especially after like I tried to go to Comic-Con for so many years in a row.
Oh yeah.
And finally last year I made it and I learned how to do it.
Yeah.
And I got 8 books signed last year. Happy with that.
Yeah.
But like I know I'm gonna come away with some prints and things like that. So it's like I'd rather take the books that I really, 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 really want to get signed and then hope that other creators show up next year or they have something this year at their booth that I'd pick up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And they usually do.
Yeah, like I mean, so like the big one I thought about is like I'm not taking Scott Snyder or Greg Capullo books
because I
wanted to take. I did that last year, is I brought a lot of stuff for those two, but then Capullo has his Wolverine cover that I got a copy of.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that would be a good one to get signed, but I'm sure he'll have something at Comic-Con for Wolverine. So then this year with John Tyler Christopher, and I have 10 books of those, 10 of those negative space variant, covers. Yeah. Like it's like I'd rather take that stuff and then pick up little things for other artists.
Yeah.
Like stuff they have already.
No, that makes sense. And yeah, there's always the variant New York Comic Con exclusives that are there.
Yeah, there's always something there.
Yeah.
Also, now I'm a full print addict, though. Like a 12 by 18 print. That's my whole thing now. Comic Con introduced me to a whole new world.
Yeah, those.
But I am taking.
It can be difficult.
I'm taking So I mean, I have them all framed. All the ones I got last year are all framed, and then I do have a bunch of the just like hard plastic cases for them.
Okay.
Or not cases, but like the slips.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I probably will get a few more of those because that was my favorite thing to get last year. Like even the books that I took to get signed.
Yeah.
I was like, I like the prints.
Yeah, prints are cool.
Yeah. So I brought enough space for 8 prints and then a whole bunch of books I'm gonna get too.
Nice.
But I'm super pumped. I'll leave. So I'll get to New York Friday afternoon, stay the night there, and then Saturday will be Comic-Con, and there's apparently some after hours thing going on too.
There always is.
Yeah. I got an invitation for it. It's like a haunted house.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna probably check that out Saturday night, and then leave on Sunday morning to go back to Pittsburgh.
Word.
So
well, I can't wait to hear about it. So maybe next week.
Eat pizza. So much pizza.
Next week, when this week's comics are last week's comics, and next week's comics are this week's comics, we'll discuss your adventures at New York Comic Con because you'll have already been.
I'll probably be posting on Instagram the whole time too.
So follow us at Tommy's Top Shelf Comics
I spend a bunch
on
of money.
Instagram. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, until this week's comics are next week's comics, and last week's comics, and last week's comics are 2 weeks ago's comics because it's next week. We'll catch you guys later.
See ya.